Hello Grizzlies, this is C-Rob coming to you again from my high school gym. I like to shoot videos outside, but it's 28 degrees and cold, and my mom kind of has the snow fever, if you know what I'm saying. What I learned about myself from my last video is I think in my old age, I'm sounding more like Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, the old wrestler, Cody Rhodes' dad, if you will. But anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about John Updike's A&P. It kind of holds a special place in my heart. I went to Randolph-Macon College in Ashland. I love Randolph-Macon College. And my freshman year in the spring with Wild Bill Pendleton, we read A&P. And maybe it was something about the place and the time, but it kind of reminds me of my college days. To that point, Updike is a bit of a Protestant writer, middle-class Caucasian writer. There's not many African-American themes. There are not many gender themes. To some degree, it's about the America of the 50s, nuclear family after World War II, transitioning into the hippies of the 70s, I guess the rock stars of the 70s, but it's really how white people are dealing with a big change in America. And I think you could say 2025, the computer and COVID, we're also in another era where America seems to be changing. So, and the 50s into the 60s might have been the last time that happened. But Updike was born in Pennsylvania. I'd say upper middle class. A lot of his themes have to do with money and divorce. You know, in the 50s, you weren't supposed to get divorced, but he's very much like kind of a white bread writer, but you kind of get to understand what America was like back in the day. I wrote in my notes that it's a snapshot of a moment in time, maybe small-time America, what America was like in 1961, the year my parents got married. It's also, I wrote down in my note, the mundane. So he paints you a picture of a mundane day at a grocery store, at a beach town, like in the 60s. In the story itself, which is fairly short, Sammy is working in a grocery store. He's a teenager, 19, I believe. All the employees in the grocery store are men, and he's going about his job, making fun of the housewives that come in, making fun of the consumerism, the brand names. And all of a sudden, these three girls come into his grocery store, and they're in their bathing suits. And all the men, all the employees go crazy. He immediately falls in love with Queenie, like the leader of the girls in the bikinis. He's fairly sexist in his language. We'll talk about that. If I'm telling the truth, the last time I taught this in Fredericksburg, a lot of the people in class in Fredericksburg didn't particularly like his 1961 view of the world. But he sort of judges what these girls are, who they are, by their appearance, how they look in their bathing suits. And then the manager of the store, Lengel, comes over and chews out the girls, said, you know, we're a nice grocery store. You need to look decent in our store. The main girl, Queenie, that's the name Sammy gives her, it hurts her feelings. She's like, we are decent. But the manager says the next time you come in here, you need to be decent. And then Sammy decides to quit his job. And it's up to the reader to decide, does he do it because he's a hero, he's being noble, or is he really just sort of likes the girl, maybe he's horny, but he quits out of his own vanity. And then after, at the last paragraph, he goes on the beach looking for the girls and he can't find them. So, but he quits his job to stand up for their honor. If I'm going to go over some of the notes on my sheet, it said, reject middle-class life, Protestant America. So around that time, America is moving from the 50s to the 60s and the hippies. So he's rejecting the conservative values of 1950s America. I guess that would be your grandparents, your great-grandparents. I wrote reject consumer culture. Before the girls come in, he's describing the other customers, making fun of them, the housewives who would come and shop in his beach town. He goes over the products, what they're called, and why. We'll go over that later. But sort of American supermarket culture, American Walmart culture, and now in America we have Amazon culture. So we'll talk about that. My next note is object of the male gaze. The three girls come in their bathing suits. Sammy loves them, but he kind of objectifies them, like he's the subject, like Rob Van Dam, they're the object, so he decides their personality, their value as a human being by how they look. And you could say there's something about that in American culture. You could talk about Madison Avenue, men versus women, nature versus nurture, something, but he gauges them by how they look. Sexual revolution, counterculture. 1960s, things are changing in America, and John Updike is giving you a snapshot of a moment in time, a little beach town when like America's changing. I wrote freedom of the dress. So usually it's a pretty popular question when my students write a paper, but ultimately we can talk about what people wear in the Walmart, in the Arby's in 2025. Do people roll in there in their bathing suits, in their underwear? Is anything wrong with that? And certainly in the 50s, there was a certain way you were supposed to dress, and the 60s, it changed. So I think that's an interesting question. Usually a lot of students write about freedom of the dress. I wrote that he kind of sort of reads America in that story. There are no African Americans in the story, no people of different races. There's gender questions, a lot of phobias there, but he's giving you a snapshot of white Protestant America in that time period, and it's changing, and there's some growing pains. The questions themselves, number one, ask about Sammy's attitude toward women. Is Sammy sexist? I would say Sammy is sexist, but we'll talk about that sort of subject versus object. Like almost like you read something in the book, you look at a picture in the book, you're the subject, the picture in the book is the object. For my old students, that would be like the Said essay we read. You objectify the things you see. Question two is Sammy on consumer culture. America is about buying, making money. It is about freedom of the dress and Sammy and the girls, but it is also about buying stuff. America making money at all times. Number three is an interesting question. Why do the girls wear their bathing suits into the grocery store? On one level, do they want attention? Do they know what's going to happen? Or no, they're just at the beach having fun. They're going to get supplies for their mom. But number three asks, why do the girls wear their bathing suits? Number four, Sammy reads the girls by their bodies. We talked about this before. My Fredericksburg class didn't like that, but you can write a paper if you don't like that, what you think Updike's trying to say about the male gaze, how men treat women, how men read women, maybe like Me Too movement or something. Number five asks, why does you think Sammy quits his job? Again, is he being noble? Is he standing up for the girls? He's a hero, or does he really like the girls and he just wants attention and it's kind of selfish? And then the last question has to do with freedom of the dress. I'm repeated myself a couple times, but what does that mean about them being free enough to wear their bikinis into the grocery store? What does that mean about our culture now? Sexiness or whatever. I don't think C-Rob's wearing his bathing suit into the Walmart, but you never know. Okay, that's good for John Updike. See you, Grizzlies.